Do the Boston Bruins have a $64 million problem on their hands in goaltender Jeremy Swayman? He almost got into a fight last night with Kings goalie Darcy Kemper, and the reaction from the team kind of spelled out some potential locker room issues, as well as, not to mention, his poor play this season. We're going to discuss whether or not they need to really seriously consider trading the goaltender before his trade protection kicks in on his contract later this offseason. Plus, we have lots of other news around the NHL, including a fine from player safety, 3 stars of the week. We have some signings, injury updates, and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss here in today's video. First up, let's get started with an update from the Department of NHL Player Safety. They fined St. Louis Blues Zach Bolduc $2,248 for cross-checking. I know that doesn't seem like a lot of money, and it really isn't based on the CBA, but that's the maximum they're allowed to do for some of these situations. But in last night's game between the St. Louis Blues and the Nashville Predators, the centerman for the Blues, Robert Thomas, was taken down and kind of looked at the original real time. It looked like it could have been a dirty scenario where Bolduc stuck out his leg and tried kneeing Thomas. I don't think that's really the case once you have a chance to watch it and watch the replay, slow it down. I think it's just an ill-timed hit, but in real time, I think the Blues thought it was dirty, so they went after him, and Bolduc ended up cross-checking him, Nick Blankenburg, quite forcefully. So he's been fined for that. Certainly was a team pack mentality jumping on Blankenburg after that happened, but I think it was a bit of an overreaction, but certainly defending their teammate, which is understandable and justified, especially this time of year as the Blues continue to push for that last wildcard spot in the Western Conference playoffs. We get the 3 stars of the week, which we get every Monday from the NHL. This week's first star of the week is Minnesota Wild goaltender Philip Gustafsson, who picked up 3 wins, including 1 shutout and a .976 save percentage. Not too shabby for a week's work for Gus the Bus. And Jack Eichel of the Vegas Golden Knights is your second star this week, picking up 7 points in 3 games. And St. Louis Blues forward, former Edmonton Oiler Dylan Holloway, who's having a breakout season, and looks like that offer sheet was quite the wise move by the Blues, having another solid week in the St. Louis action, putting up 7 points over 4 games played. So those are your 3 NHL stars here of the week. We have a signing in Calgary. We have the Calgary Flames signing goaltending prospect Owen Shea, who gets a 1-year, 2-way deal for 25-26 season as a goaltender for the University of Notre Dame. So he gets a chance to play pro next year. And the Lightning have also signed 21-year-old forward Cooper Flinton, who gets a 2-year ELC starting next year in 25-26. He was originally a 2021 7th-round selection who played his college hockey for Dartmouth College. So obviously a couple of prospects jumping into the pro mold here next year. Some key injury updates. Tonight's Amazon Prime game of the week is on New Jersey versus Vancouver. We thought we'd see all the Hughes brothers. Unfortunately, Jack Hughes is out for the season, but we will see Quinn versus Luke, and we are expected to see Thatcher Demko make his return for the Vancouver Canucks. Demko is coming back. It might be too little too late. I don't know. Obviously, he's missed a lot of time this year. Lankinen has had a few struggling games recently, and the Canucks certainly need every point they can get to stay alive and keep their playoff hopes alive. The injury bug has certainly taken their big bite out of them. Of course, like I said, a few nights ago, they lost Elias Pettersson and Nils Höglander, who both left their game due to injury, and they now have left the road trip and have sent back home to Vancouver, so they will not be available in tonight's game and are expected to miss some additional time. So that's certainly not good. With Philip Hedl also out dealing with a concussion, that leaves the center depth pretty thinned out. So that's not a good scenario for the Canucks. I know the Devils have had some struggles lately as well. But not looking good for Vancouver, to be honest. I know Demko, unless he comes back and can be at his absolute best and steal the game, they might have a hard time. They're pretty depleted right now, so we'll see what happens. But Demko coming back is a great thing. This is hopefully that he's fully ready and healthy, and we'll see how he can do. And So they might need their all-star goaltender to steal a game dealing with the injuries that they are right now. In Minnesota, it would look like Jonas Brodin was going to be coming back, but he is going to be out. So Brodin is out. Chisholm will be in. In Ottawa, we found out today that they recalled Stephen Halliday from the American Hockey League. I think he's basically coming up as an insurance piece at their morning skate today in Ottawa. They did not have Brady Tkachuk on the ice. The captain continues to deal with I guess you could call it a nagging hip injury. I'm not sure. It kind of looks like a hip flexor, but I'm not real certain. Something to do with his hip. We do know that, which happened at the Four Nations tournament. He missed a few games after the tournament, first coming back. And, well, the other night against the Devils, it looked like he re-aggravated something. He was able to continue to play through it, but it was a reduced workload for him. He did score a big goal, but obviously they want to monitor him closely here down the stretch. And they're in pretty good shape when it comes to the standings, but, they're still a ways from clinching, and they still have a fair bit of work to do. So I think they're trying to balance out when do they give him time off in order to try to heal up, and when do they, do that, right? Because they don't want to take their foot off the gas here, and they want to win the games that they need to win, because right now they're on a road trip. They're actually doing a dad's trip as well. So they have the dads with them heading to Buffalo for tomorrow and then Detroit on Thursday, I believe. So a couple of important games. They're playing teams like Columbus and Pittsburgh after that. So they're playing teams that are below them in the standings and games that really are winnable games that they should win in theory. So I'm not sure how they're going to manage Tkachuk, trying to get him some breaks and heal up and whatnot. But Halliday is with them on the odd chance that he feels like he can't go, but right now he is expected to play. Defenseman Nick Jensen returned to the ice today to practice, was a full participant, and right now it looks like the plan is for him to play tomorrow as well. So they could get some reinforcements there. Zub also missed practice, but I think it was just a maintenance day for him as well. In Columbus, they're getting Sean Monahan back, so that's a big boost. Of course, the Blue Jackets still in that wild card race as well. Not long ago, they were holding down that second spot, but they've kind of fallen off the rails here, and getting Monahan back will be a big boost. Vegas, of course, as we heard and seen yesterday, lost Thomas Hertl in the game against the Lightning. Defenseman Lilleberg shoved him into the boards. It was a dirty play, and they're waiting for further evaluations from the team to determine how long of an injury he's dealing with, but certainly looks like he'll miss time. And Winnipeg announced today that Gabe Vilardi, after a freak accident in the Sabres game a few days ago, is going to be listed as week to week. So certainly, if you're going to have something happen, you want to get it out of the way now if you can, so that you're not, missing playoff time. I mean, week to week, generally speaking, in a lot of cases, is at least 2 weeks. Looking at the calendar, you have around 3 weeks or a little bit better left in the regular season. So if he needs time, the Jets are in a good spot standings-wise that they can certainly afford to let a player heal up if need be. So we have that going down here as well. A couple other quick updates on some pending unrestricted free agents. According to Jeff Merrick, he says that he has it on good authority that the Carolina Hurricanes and newly acquired winger Taylor Hall are working on a contract extension. So there is an expectation that they're getting close to having something worked out. So Hall is expected to remain with the Hurricanes. Not sure the details of the contract. I would suspect it wouldn't be super long term, but something was getting worked out to remain him there. And another team that's emerged as a potential suitor if Panthers centerman Sam Bennett ends up making it to unrestricted free agency, which we don't really know at this point. We know that Panthers and Bennett have re-engaged in contract talks as of late, but we also know that Sam Bennett's agent is notorious for having his players push things into free agency, and certainly to have a look at the market and see what else is out there before they commit to anybody. So it would not be shocking news at all if we saw Bennett push it. Even I wouldn't consider him gone from Florida, just the way his client likes to do business. So at the same time, it wouldn't be shocking if the Panthers made him a great offer and they decided to accept it too. But if he does make it, we've heard about some teams that might be in the mix. We've heard one NHL insider say he doesn't think Sam Bennett would go to Canada. So ruling out teams like the Oilers and the Leafs, who have been speculated to watching his situation closely. I mean, that came from Andy Strickland. I really don't know that's really accurate, but that's what he says. But the Rangers are a team that I've seen reports on that they're looking to continue to make big changes. As we talked yesterday, I do think Coach Peter Laviolette is one of the coaches on the hot seat that could be facing, a job change here at the end of the season. And, we know that they're considering making other moves. Panarin's nearing the end of his contract. We've got, Kreider's name has been out there, even Zibanejad as well. Wouldn't be shocking to see the Rangers do a couple of big moves this offseason to really rework this team. And if they did that and had more flexibility, I can see Bennett being a player that they would target. So again, no guarantee that they make it happen. They would have to move out probably another contract to have more flexibility to make it work. But certainly they would be expected to be one of the teams that are closely monitoring the situation to see if they're able to talk to Bennett and pursue him into free agency. Now, as I mentioned, do the Bruins have a major $64 million plus problem on their hands here with goaltender Jeremy Swayman? Last night's game against the Los Angeles Kings, we almost had ourselves a good old-fashioned goalie fight. And once again, the officials robbed us of that entertaining possibility. I don't know why it seems to happen, but every time it gets close, the refs seem to jump in here at the last minute and prevent it from happening. But yet they don't do that with other willing combatants. I don't quite understand why when the goalies want to go that they interfere and don't let it happen. I don't understand at all. They must be under some sort of direction or mandate from the league to prevent those. I don't know why though, because to me they'd be fun to watch, and you don't really even get to any scenarios where it's close. But like I said, the last 2-3 times I can think of where it was close and the goalies would have went at it had they been allowed to, they were stopped. So of course they were battling the Los Angeles Kings last night, ended up losing 7-2. We know the Bruins had a tough loss to the Sharks. Before that, it's been a tough road trip and a tough string of games here. Really, since the trade deadline, right after the deadline, they had a couple of wins, and some thought, well, maybe the remaining players that are going to be there kind of galvanize as a group, and they're ready to, to try and make a push here to show that even though they moved some veteran guys out, the guys that are left are ready to work hard and do the job and see if they can't still squeak in to one of the last playoff spots. Well, that looked like it might be a possibility for a short spell, and then things have kind of fallen quickly off the rails here. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they're like in a 3-8-1 stretch here in the last little bit. At least that's Swayman's record down the most important games here to try to salvage the season and be a playoff team. Now, at the same time, I don't know that the franchise and the organization are really had high expectations considering how much they sold off at the deadline. We saw them move Trent Frederick. They moved Charlie Coyle. Obviously, they moved Captain Brad Marchand. I don't know that they were really thinking we're still going to make the playoffs. So I don't think that their expectations are not being met in that regard. But we can all say that Swayman has had a tough and inconsistent season. The numbers are nowhere near what you'd want them to be. And at this rate, you have to think that there's some drama going on in that dressing room, and that maybe it might be something that they might have to seriously consider doing, is making a change. Of course, last night, post-game, listening to some of the players speaking to the media, one of them was Nikita Zadorov. Now, Zadorov can be a little bit outspoken at times. I kind of call him a big donkey myself because sometimes his comments don't really make a lot of sense sometimes, but Zadorov was pretty clear in his comments. He was asked point blank by the reporters what the group thought of Jeremy Swayman almost getting into a goalie fight and sticking up for his teammates, and his response was, "Oh, is that what that was?" And they said, "Man, no comment." And then later went on to say, "Everything is going in. It's embarrassing." So, yeah, it seems like sure sounds to me that there's a divide in that room, and that I think the team is frustrated with Swayman. This kind of basically sounds to me like it basically means you can't stop the puck lately. You're having a tough go. Why are you out here fighting? Why don't you just get in your damn net and try to stop the puck? That's kind of the way I took things from those comments. And I'm not sure if the rest of the team feels that way. I mean, like I said, Zadorov's a little unique and sometimes in his personality and how he talks. So I don't know how many other players are kind of feeling the same thing. But at the same time, you have to think that it's quite possible he's not the only one thinking that. And I saw today an updated podcast on the on the Sick Podcast Network covering the Bruins, Jimmy Murphy and Pierre McGuire, talking about maybe do they really need to seriously consider moving Swayman before his no-move clause kicks in. Obviously, they talked about the fact of how his holdout has been a black cloud over this team all season. I mean, things get off the rails in the summertime. Negotiations did not go well. He was not budging at all on his contract demands. And, well, they ended up basically giving him what he wants. He signs an 8-year deal at $8.25 million per year, and he absolutely, crapped the bed this year with his stats. And when you miss training camp and you don't have everything, going the way it's supposed to, it can be very, very challenging from what we've seen in other players, especially goalies, to have a good season. He's rocking an .892 save percentage. That's nowhere near good enough. A 3.12 goals against average. I mean, they had one of the best goaltending tandems for a few years there with Ullmark and Swayman. Makes sense to me why they traded Ullmark over Swayman. Swayman's much younger, and obviously they felt like he could continue to grow and be the number one goalie with the team for an extended time. When they signed Ullmark, Swayman wasn't where he was now, right? He grew into that role, kind of forced his way into that conversation, formed a great tandem with Ullmark for a few years, and they were, like I said, one of the top ones in the league. I mean, Ullmark won a Vezina Trophy with Swayman by his side, and they were not really a starter backup scenario. It was more of a pretty close to an even split, where it was a tandem effort. Obviously Allred goes off to Ottawa this year. For the most part, he's had a little bit of struggles as well, but I think overall Allred's year's definitely been fairly successful. And overall the team I think is more happy with where things are at with their results in Allred versus where the Bruins and Swayman are at. So I think we can say that that's worked out pretty well. It could still get better, but it's pretty good. And Swayman getting the big money, has not worked out in Boston at all. Like, not even close. So, of course, like when you have he doesn't have trade protection right now, so they could trade him before he gets all the leverage. Obviously, that can change after July 1. Should they make a move before that kicks in while they have more options? I mean, there's a number of teams around the league that could use a starting goaltender like Swayman that might be willing to give him a chance. I don't think Swayman forgot how to be a good goaltender. When you have that much skill, you don't usually just lose it, but it can be tough for sure. Like between how you carry yourself, how you handle things, and it just, like I said, it sounds like the holdout didn't go over well with the guys in the room to kick things off. And then you come in after getting all that money and you hauled out, you miss part of camp, everything happens, and then you finally get paid, and then you don't live up to it. You don't look good, So like, I don't know. I mean, if you're looking around the NHL, if they were going to make a move like that, you have to think that there's probably I could come up with about 4 or 5 teams that I think would make sense. I know a team like Chicago, for example, they're up and coming. They've got a lot of prospects, a lot of draft capital. They don't have that clear-cut, future goaltender yet. I think that they could certainly make sense for Swayman. A team like Detroit, who's trying to get into the playoffs and has fallen short yet again. It's not over, but it doesn't look good for them right now. They do have some goaltenders in their system, though, that very well could be starting goaltender material within the not too distant future, like Kosa, for example. And then Augustine's not too far away. So maybe they ride things out with a different, go a different route. But at the same time, you don't know for sure that those prospect goalies that have that potential are going to be what you hope they are, right? So I don't know. But, they're a team to me that are looking to make that jump. They're looking to be better right now, and he could maybe help them get there. A team like Pittsburgh, who's trying to be as competitive as possible during the remaining Crosby, Malkin, Letang years. Again, they have to find a way to move on from Tristan Jarry. I'm not sure that Boston's going to do that. They already took the Korpisalo contract from Ottawa last year in the Ullmark deal. I don't see them taking another unfavorable one at that. I mean, Korpisalo has been okay for the Bruins. I think he's had fair to say he's done a little better than he did in Ottawa, but still not like he's, putting up superstar numbers either. Columbus is another team that comes to mind as well. They've got lots of interesting young players and draft picks and prospects that would be intriguing for Boston. I know even a team like Carolina, who doesn't have, a solid situation under goaltending locked up, would be interesting as well. Now, of course, they'd all have something different to offer, and I'm not saying all those teams would have the right package or the right resources at their fingertips to make Boston want to pull the trigger on that kind of deal, but they're the teams to me that would make sense that they would even have those conversations and have the interest to try to pull it off. There could be others, but those are the ones to me that kind of make the most sense. But like I said, I kind of had a feeling for a while. We've heard other things throughout the year that people have kind of shrugged off. Is there a divide in that room or not? Is there a scenario where that holdout really impacted them more than a lot of people want to let on? And I think it has. I think it did. And I'm not sure that Swayman's made a lot of, friends along the way here. So it sounds like to me, I kind of half wonder if him trying to have the goalie fight, one, I'm sure he's frustrated because it's having a bad season. But is he trying to kind of win back his teammates and show that he's very much in the fight with them? And even listening to him speak post-game, he made some of the same comments saying, if you're in the black and gold uniform and anybody's kind of, doing things they're not supposed to, I'm going to be there to help, defend, right? So it's not a bad sentiment. I get where his teammates may be coming from, though, and we'll see what happens. But could they go from having one of the best tandems in the NHL to neither guy being on the roster within a couple of seasons? Let me know what you think. Do they pull the trigger? Do they go down this road before the trade protection kicks in? Or do they have the confidence that he can bounce back, win back all the love from his teammates, and be a big part of that team's future that they'd hoped when they signed that contract? I know the team and the management was frustrated with him as well going through that process. You clearly could tell from the comments from Cam Neely and Don Sweeney throughout the summer as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but let me know what you think. Should they pull the trigger or not in the comments, and we'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.